Hi, everybody. I'm here with Dan Delord to talk about recruiter enablement. Dan, thank you very much for taking the time to join me. Give us a quick introduction.
Hi, I'm Dan. Most recently, I was head of global talent acquisition for RGA, professional services slash global innovation company based out of the US. And I ran that from London. So nice to be here.
Great. Okay, so recruiter enablement. What is it? What does it mean to you? What's this all about?
Well, so I hadn't heard the term before hearing it from you, or at least I hadn't heard it to the point where I was using it consciously. But for me, it would be all about providing a series of tools and resources for TA teams and recruiters to work more effectively and to sort of build on competitive intelligence. So that at every point you are building upwards rather than reinventing and starting again.
Right. What sort of tools and intelligence would you include in that type of thing? And like, what have you done in the past to help enable recruiters that have been in your teams?
So we spent last year creating a centre of excellence model, which I sort of, not knowing this term, unconsciously pointed at this kind of thing. And it worked on different levels. So we had a shared strategy at the top. We had what we defined as the way that we wanted to work, so best practice operations. And then we had a series of kind of operational pieces at the base, which were sort of a resource for people to use as and when they wanted. So that was, that could be very simply a resource on a shared drive, which captured everything in the TA spectrum, from how we do outreach to, for logins for all of our tools and guides to our tools. We then created 3 playbooks, which addressed different elements of the TA lifecycle, which weren't just a kind of a top-down approach of, you must follow this. It was created by the team. We created different project teams, and they were empowered to, against that central strategy and against the kind of business priority, they were empowered to put their own work into it and kind of make it as a utility tool from kind of going local up to global rather than just global coming down. And then off air, we were just talking about the sort of ATS still being the route that most of the TA work goes through. So within that, we would then have kind of templated approaches to how we worked, whether that was from job ads, and then they would be divided by market, or whether it was comms, either outreach or responsive comms, and then around CRM practices and tagging, just making sure that in a globally distributed and very matrixed organization, we were all trying to work in the same way so that the outputs were more effective.
Right. So shared content, shared knowledge, common way of delivering the TA service for a consistent candidate experience.
Yes.
And I guess saving the team quite a lot of time so that they're not continuously writing the same job ad over and over again, for example, and reinventing the wheel. Are these some of the benefits that you were generating?
Yeah, very much so. That was the ambition, that the value of TA shouldn't be in creating a job description. For example, the value of TA is from creating experience to bring great talent into a business and being commercial about that, and advising on future state. So rather than sort of getting bogged down in that granular, we have to do this on a repeatable basis, what can we either template or automate or integrate, so that people can spend much more time on those either tentpole moments of experience or the human moments of how we want to work, and ultimately getting to spend more time with stakeholders and hopefully have a value add relationship rather than a transactional one.
Yeah, great. Okay, so I remember talking to you about some of this stuff last year, and I was very impressed with what you were doing. And so, yeah, I've only recently started using the term recruiter enablement, but that's pretty much what you were doing. So excellent. I know that one last question. I know that you've taken a recent interest, or you've maybe had a long-term interest, but you've started diving a lot more into the area of organizational design. Give us a bit of like, why? What's your interest in this area? What's your thoughts about it?
I could probably post-rationalize a reason. Like I studied anthropology when I was younger, and I genuinely think I've always been interested in how people organize themselves and kind of the motivators in that. But from a very basic level, I felt that a lot of what I did in my work was kind of learning on the job, or learning by repetition almost. And I just wanted to go out and stretch myself, write something that wasn't in a deck format, and kind of consider it from a range of different perspectives, rather than just like, this is my company and this is what we think. And it's amazing that personally, I found it amazing that, I think talent and TA do so much of this work without thinking about it, that if we had the language, or we had the ability to kind of reference it outside of our own company, I think it gives us more credibility. It certainly makes it more interesting. I talked about decks there. Like my company was very designed in terms of how it put together information, how it presented that, and just amusing examples. Like one of the concepts we were talking about in design thinking in the course, and is actually like what constitutes genuine innovation versus innovation theatre. And I think particularly in service businesses, which is what I've been in for the last few years, there is a lot of theatre. And I think being able to understand how we can be more collaborative, be more innovative, and put people at the heart of that, hopefully means there's less theatre and more reality.
Very interesting. Anthropology is a subject I'm interested in too, and it's also what Hung Lee studied at university.
Really?
Yes. So, Dan, if people want to connect with you, where's best to do it? LinkedIn?
LinkedIn, just Dan Delord. I haven't updated it yet. I must do that. I'm not practicing what I preach on that, but I'm there, and I'm very responsive.
Great. Okay, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to me about recruiter enablement, and hopefully see you again soon.
All right. Thanks, Adam.